It's literally impossible. You can't do it. Alright, so all joking aside, the Blu-ray for the Turbo movie comes out this Tuesday, and I felt as though this is a project that I've kind of wanted to work on for a while in regards to when I heard it was being released. Because, in all honesty, if you take a look at the Turbo movie, you know, some people love it, some people hate it. I'm kind of in that middle ground to where I love it because it's my childhood, and it's probably the first movie I remember seeing in theaters as a 4 or 5 year old little kid. But in terms of, is it a good movie, the answer to that is fuck no, it's not a good movie. It's pretty fucking awful. But I do think that the movie does have potential to go from being a C or D movie to at least a B, because the biggest problem the Turbo movie has is that if you look at a lot of the pre-production stuff, if you look at the little bits that are floating around out there on the internet, some things that have been said by the actors like Johnny Young Bosch, things that they say that they filmed that for whatever reason have never made it to the internet, probably because 20th Century Fox or Saban destroyed it because they're cheap. If you look at the original script, there was a lot of ideas for this movie. You could tell that the writers wanted this to be a fun adventure movie. The only problem was that the script, from all reports that have been given, was that the script would have put the running time at around 3 hours long. And back in 1997, that was kind of unheard of. And nowadays, it's, you know, we've got movies like Avengers, Infinity War, hence the poster behind me, and Avengers Endgame, where that's just kind of the standard. Back in 1997, for a kids movie no less, that was kind of like, yeah, it wasn't going to happen, and I don't think Saban or 20th Century Fox wanted to pay for the film. Problem is, when they did the trimming for the script, it feels like not only did they cut out a lot of the superfluous bits, which, trust me, there's still plenty of that in this movie, that's kind of the problem, they cut out the stuff that actually would have made the movie somewhat coherent, and that's the biggest problem. They really needed to fire their story editors, whoever they were, for this movie. So, going into it, we're going to make some rules here. Rule being is that, number one, I am not changing the plot of this movie. As I said, the base plot, for the most part, is fine. Divatox is still going to be the main villain. Lord and Zed and Rita will still just have their cameo. That was fine, but they're not going to be replaced Divatox, so we're not going to do anything along those lines. Scorpion Rain is not going to be mentioned in here because, let's face it, at the time of this movie, nobody knew what Scorpion Rain was. It was a very minute part of the fandom that wasn't even aware of its existence. So we're not even going to reference that. And plus, it's not canon. I don't care what anyone says. We're just going to be attacking, in my opinion, 4 plot points that if you tweak them or take them out completely, you can actually make this a passable film. So let's go ahead and start right off with the first one right now. When a character feels more like a prop than a living, breathing person, that's a pretty good indicator that you have failed as a writer somewhere. Larigo is a prop. That's all he is. That's all he ever was in the movie. The movie treats him as if there's this sort of sense of gravitas, that he is this great wizard, but at the end of the day, he's a failed attempt of merchandise. He exists for Divatox to take him to go to a place so she can do a thing. You could easily write around the entire Larigo storyline. In fact, the fact that Divatox wants to go resurrect an ancient demon should be enough motivation for the Rangers to go stop her. It shouldn't be, oh, she's kidnapped this weird cross half-breed of a Muppet, Hobbit, Furby thing. Larigo is useless. You could easily replace him with, say, something like, I don't know, the Zeo Crystal, and you've lost nothing. And that's the big indicator that you have failed as a writer if your character is easily replaceable by a prop. Speaking of the Zeo powers, let's jump into what is easily the most hotly debated topic in the Power Rangers community to this day, 22 years later. Which is one thing I can say about this movie, it's still got fans talking about it to this very moment. This is the big issue. They knew they were going to have to do Car Ranger. You know, it was in the contract with Toei. They weren't going to get out of it. You could have at least thought of a better way of swapping over to the Turbo powers. There's all the fan theories about Billy creating them, which makes sense because they seem to go through powers every year. There's all the theories about them being upgrades of the Zeo powers. But the fact that the movie never at any point in the finished cut even acknowledges anything about the Turbo powers as to where they came from or why they abandoned the Zeo powers is in my opinion, I will go ahead and say the biggest fail of the movie. I think originally Johnny and Bosch stated at a convention that there were sequences with the Zeo powers filmed. I believe that there was even an underwater battle sequence with the Zeo Megazord, and the Zeo powers get trashed by Divatox, which, you know, if we're going to take the finished script as canon, then that means Divatox is responsible for the destruction of 2 sets of Ranger powers. Out of all the trimming they could have done, they literally could have just written around this. And it's so easy. It's so easy. You replace Larigo with the Zeo Crystal. That's all you had to do. Again, Larigo is a prop. The Zeo Crystal is a prop. Just swap the props. One of them is more important than the other. And you can have a good reason as to why they don't use the Zeo powers anymore. Because Divatox stole the Zeo Crystal to get through the Nemesis Triangle. There you go. Problem solved. This is the one that I've got the most mixed emotions about. Because on the one hand, I'm glad Kimberly and Jason are back. On the other, they don't do anything. They get kidnapped by Divatox because this movie needed some fan service. And I don't mean this type of fan service, but service for the older fans. The only problem is it falls flat because Kim and Jason don't really do anything in this film other than get kidnapped and then cringingly get turned evil for like 30 seconds until Larigo makes them all better. That's it. Again, you could cut them out of this film as well because, let's be real here, they're really not needed. They're just there to kind of bring the older fans back in because, let's be honest here, after season 3 of MMPR, the fans were kind of going away. You know, they were getting older and the ratings were starting to decline, and they really needed to get some people in this movie theater. So the big issue here is that if you cut Kim and Jason from the plot, you haven't lost anything. If you're going to have them in the movie, these are the original Red and Pink Rangers. Have them do something. Okay, I know this is going to be a bit of an unpopular opinion, but I don't hate Justin. Look, you gotta understand, I was a 5-year-old wee lad when the Turbo movie came out. And to be fair, Turbo was my first season, so I didn't mind the aspect of a kid's superhero. Now, growing up, I see all the problems with Justin as a character, especially in terms of the series. He does kind of have Gary Stu-ish problems, but we'll talk about that when I eventually do a video on Justin or anything related to Turbo. That being said, in regards to the movie gives no reason as to why this is even a thing, why Rocky should even be replaced. And it's kind of disrespectful to Steve Cardenas in a lot of ways. He's kind of been a butt of the jokes of a lot of Power Ranger fans' humor, and the fact that he goes from taking over Jason's place to being second fiddle when Jason comes back in Zeo to now being replaced by a 12-year-old, you know, the memes kind of write themselves. I'm not going to lie. But no, in terms of the movie, we don't even get a reason for why he became a Ranger. The line that was given in the film by Justin himself was that Rocky sent him in his place. I'm assuming Rocky, maybe my little headcanon, fucking hated the kid and probably was hoping that he would get killed on this mission. I don't know. I could be wrong. Probably am. But in regards to the film itself, we're never given a reason. This makes me wonder that if there was something in the completed script before it was chopped up like Swiss cheese, if there was more to it. I'd like to believe there was, but then again, this is Zordon era Power Rangers, so it could really go either way. That being said, if we have to keep Justin as a Ranger, there are ways, again, you can write around this. You can make him stow away on the ship. You could, not nerf Rocky and make it to where, for whatever reason, Justin gets the Morpher instead of Rocky. It could work. Again, a freaking 12-year-old, no pun intended, could write this script in a more competent way than the way the writers did. Alright, so we're going to be taking our 4 major plot points and we're going to be tweaking the outline of this movie. I'm not going to be going through everything scene by scene because, quite honestly, the movie's not worth it and we'd be here for 2 hours and Lord knows that's not something I can afford to do. So, because we're cutting Larigo from the film, we're not opening up on an alien planet with him running from Divatox's forces. And because Larigo is not in the movie, we're also completely gutting the whole Africa sequence with Kat and Tommy. What you would do is you would open up with Divatox going to Earth to get the Zeo crystals so she can get through the Nemesis Triangle. In doing that, you create a scenario to where the Rangers will lose their powers in a way that would actually make sense to the film. Because in the original film, of course, the Zeo powers just went away. They never mentioned again. You would still have the martial arts tournament. You would still have the whole issue with Justin and the orphanage. You just wouldn't nerf Rocky. That's the major thing you would do different in that particular sequence. Rocky doesn't get hurt in a martial arts tournament. At the end of their training sequence is when Justin can find out that they're Rangers, because similar to what happened in the hospital room, he overhears Zordon talking to them and he sees them teleport. That's fine, that works. Meanwhile, Divatox kidnaps Kimberly and Jason and Bulk and Skull and ransoms them for the Zeo Crystal. The Rangers are forced to give up the Zeo Crystal, and of course, just like the original film, Divatox double crosses them. Only this time they legitimately don't have their powers. This is where Zordon can reveal that him and Billy were working on something over the past year. A bit of a contingency plan in case they ever lost their powers, because if we're being honest here, the Rangers up to this point have gone through like 2 or 3 different sets of powers. So the Rangers, of course, we get the turbo powers. Rocky would be included in this sequence because he's not injured, and of course, just like in the original film, they would shrink the Zords down. Don't ask me how that's a thing. Then they would get on the ship and go towards the island. This time, Justin would stow away. He wouldn't just be welcome with open arms. During the attack of the pod monsters, this is where it would get revealed that Justin was actually stowing away on the ship. Same sequence of event happens just like in the movie. Divatox gets to the Nemesis Triangle, only this time it's with the Zeo Crystal, and of course she gets there first. The Rangers, of course, would follow, and then, of course, just like in the original film, she would blow up the ship. The Rangers would, of course, get out in their Zords, and Justin would just bunk with Rocky and Mountain Blaster. This is where things get a little bit different. So this is where we're going to diverge a little bit. The Rangers, after getting to the island, would get ambushed by Piranhatrons. Rocky would get hurt this way, but he would get hurt rescuing Justin. The reason I say he would get hurt rescuing Justin would be a good character moment for Rocky. It would be a good character motivation for Justin, because in the original film he didn't have any character motivation. He just became the Blue Ranger because Saban's like, shit, Beetleborgs is getting better ratings than us. So the other 4 Rangers would, of course, go on ahead. Rocky's hurt, and they would instruct Justin to stay with Rocky, and they would try to go save Kim and Jason themselves. In doing so, they would run into another patrol, only this time you would say have Rygog with the Piranhatrons. Doing this, the Rangers would get captured, or they would get cornered in some way. They would send out a distress signal to Rocky to take him and Justin and get off the island. Justin, of course, would feel even worse, and during this time, Justin and Rocky would be having some heart-to-heart. A lot of the stuff that Justin would tell Kat, he goes into more detail with Rocky. So he tells about the whole thing with, his dad's job situation. He doesn't have a mom. He's the new kid at school, and that's really hard. Thus creating this sort of mentor-student relationship with Justin and Rocky, which should have been in the beginning of Turbo, but the writers were too dumb to even attempt such a thing. They would get the distress signal, and then Rocky and Justin both would decide to go save the Rangers, whether Rocky was hurt or not. Justin, on the way there with Rocky, would realize that Rocky's too hurt to fight. In this case, he would steal the morpher from Rocky and run off. While he's on the way to save the Rangers, Justin would morph, and he would arrive in his Ranger form to save the others. He ends up saving them, but the other Rangers think he's Rocky. Once he unmorphs, they're of course naturally pissed, wondering where Rocky's at. The Rangers would decide at this point that there's strength in numbers and that they gotta keep Justin with them. So at this point, the movie would pretty much play out like it did in the original one. The only issue here would be I would cut evil Kim and Jason. It wasn't needed. It was stupid in the original movie. It was just there to pad out the running time. At this point, Malagor gets resurrected. The Rangers defeat them, and then of course we have the tournament afterwards where Tommy wins the money for the orphanage. The thing with it is, as clunky as this outline was that I just came up with, and I can honestly say I came up with it off the top of my head in about 5 minutes. The sad part about it was that I came up with it off the top of my head in 5 minutes. The production team roughly had a couple of months. Now, I don't hate this movie. This movie is a fun watch, especially if you grew up with it. And I saw it in theaters as a wee lad, so I have a lot of nostalgia with it. But it is sad that a franchise that I loved so much from my childhood was never the pinnacle of writing. It was never the pinnacle of, of great developed plot points and great three-dimensional characters, at least especially not in the early years. But they couldn't even manage to write a coherent movie tie-in. That is sad. And unfortunately, it's kind of epitome of some of the lack of effort that was given into the Saban era for those first few years. really, I kind of want to know your ideas on the topic. Do you think that my outline was pretty good? Or would you write it a different way? I kind of want to hear your guys' thought down below. Drop me a like, subscribe for more content, and hey, Hasbro, I fixed your movie. And it is technically your movie now. So you need to call me and you need to get with me, because I can write you a Time Force 20 years after movie, because 2021 is coming up, baby. And I can write you one hell of a Time Force movie, and I can guarantee I can get the whole cast back, because God knows they need some work. Except Aaron Cahill, but Aaron Cahill is just awesome. So Hasbro, give me a call, give me a ring, and send the check to 900 Preston.